Hey guys, welcome to this replay cast here with Bad Fat Panda and Rifkin. Here today we have GoOdy and what we suspect is Creator Prime. Panda, who do we have spawning where?
Down here in the bottom left-hand corner of the map, it is ESC's own, the Panzer General, the Red Terran GoOdy.
And his opponent spawning opposite of him in the top right corner, it is the blue Protoss. Not Rain, but the person we suspect to be Creator Prime.
I don't even care at this point. Like, if GoOdy ends up taking this, I'm just gonna drop. He's making it rain.
Well, see, whether it's
Because
Rain...
I've always wanted to hear that in the PSL, but like Rain never loses, and then he just got rolled by Flash.
Well, see, for me, whether it's Rain, whether it's Creator Prime, I really don't care which, as long as it's some good Starcraft is what it comes down to.
Pretty much. Especially on this map, too. I like TvP on this map.
Well, Panda, you are probably the most analytical person I know in the entirety of everything. How do you think this match is going to go down?
I would imagine, at least from GoOdy, we're going to have some Reactor Hellions. I don't know, MKP seems to do a variant on this, where he actually opens gas first and then goes for Widow Mines, and then follows it up with Hellions in order to deflect the Mothership Core. But regardless of who the Protoss is, I would assume that there's going to be a Mothership Core in the field early on. Either have to use it for defense or early harass.
I should take a moment to point out, since you bring up the topic of Hellions, this replay is old enough that this is before there was the transformation servo upgrade.
Oh, really?
So, I mean, these Hellions coming out of the factory, they will be fresh enough to be Battle Hellions.
Oh well then, we could potentially see some poor Battle Hellion drops.
Yeah, it just occurred to me this is still a new implemented thing, and this is a little bit of an older replay, but that's okay.
That's fine.
I think it's still gonna be. I mean, it's GoOdy. I mean, come on.
Yeah, really.
Regardless of whether he wins or loses. Fair warning, by the way, guys, we have not actually looked at this replay ahead of time or anything like that. We just pulled up a bunch, tried to get some Heart of the Swarm cast in, and this is one of the games we have. So hopefully this will be entertaining.
I would hope so. Let's see.
Right,
We should see a second gas here from our Protoss player relatively soon. I don't know, what are we going to go with here? Creator, Rain?
I'm probably going to get caught saying Rain a couple times, just because that's the name I'm looking at. But I mean,
sense.
I'm going to consciously try and say Creator Prime. But
I guess
I'm
never casting barcodes, then you have to go like I.
Yeah, But no, guys, I guess fair warning here, you might hear us mix up Rain and Creator Prime a little bit, but that's because, as you can see here, he is named SKT Rain. We believe this is a smurf of Creator Prime, so either way, our apologies in advance if we misname the player. It's the blue Protoss is what it comes down to, though.
Yeah.
But
Nice solid positioning here by our Protoss.
For a second, I thought I was going to go for something like an Engineering Babe log. That's something we see too often out of players in general.
Yeah, and GoOdy is actually one of the players to do it, too. Say what you want about him, but he definitely takes a lot of his strategy from the Korean players. Having said that, though, we do have the first two Hellions on the way, so this will be a Hellion run by. Let's see.
Well, you call it Hellions, we got Hellions, so maybe you should go buy a lottery ticket next.
Yeah.
See how lucky you get, depending if the Protoss goes for... In fact, there it is, the Mothership Core. So, Panda's 2 for 2 so far, guys. Off to a great start this game.
I would hope so. There's like no reason ever not to get a Mothership Core in this matchup. It's so ridiculously powerful. You do have the recall ability, but you can use it for in-base defense, especially against Reapers. Now they weren't... I don't think the 8 racks was as prevalent at the time of this game, but we're seeing Protosses now just literally get a Mothership Core first before they even start Warpgate research.
I like this too. GoOdy, I want to point out, he's got a bunker up on the high ground, ready for something weird to come his way, because he knows Marines cannot take the Mothership Core. But there's that run by getting into the main base. Can he get some probes, Panda? Will we see some barbecue?
It's looking like
begins. He's not going to get
nice
a lot.
Probe pull, actually. He's segmenting them off so that it doesn't get, like, there's no potential for this mass line.
Yeah, I mean, every Terran player is so happy when you see a Protoss pull all of his workers and just run them to the natural, because you're like, oh, thanks for lining them up for me. This couldn't go better.
Yeah. And if we did see GoOdy continue with Hellion production, I can guarantee you 9 times out of 10 that's what he would do.
We got Widow Mines coming out. I didn't even see those getting built. He's going to creep these into the natural mineral line, and there's not going to be any detection on the field for a while. He's getting the Robo up now, but I mean, that Observer is still quite a ways off.
Oh, this is... I believe that this was taken prior to... No, apparently not. I thought this was before the Shields edition, but nope.
No, the Shields edition was a long time ago. Yeah. That's, I mean, he even baited an overcharge on the Nexus. I mean, that was really nice.
Widow Mine's pretty good.
So
And
that
even though, I
overcharge,
mean,
though,
he burned 100
wow.
energy there too. That's nothing to scoff at. Like, you really energy, you're gonna have Terran pushing again and again and again and again, and you only have 60 seconds where that Planetary Fortress ability is activated.
Yeah, I mean, that Hellion, I mean, it took a lot of damage, but I mean, he can see clearly with the Widow Mines that it's still active. It's still spinning above
Yeah.
the Nexus.
And because of this too, I mean, our protest has every single mineral mining probe aside from one up in his main.
Yeah, 27
So
and 24.
he's ridiculously oversaturated here, and he can't afford. Oh, they're finally do have the observer out.
Yeah, very nicely done. So now I can go back to mining.
Yeah, that's 8 minutes into the game that he really hasn't had his expo saturated, and a good 3 minutes since it was down. So he really wanted to get that mining, and GoOdy finally in that time got his own orbit up. He's getting a third base. He's adding additional production structures. Hasn't quite gotten a starport up yet. He is building one right now.
Yeah, tanks coming out too. Of course, tanks and all your needing siege mode research are really nice to have. They're not like the end-all be-all versus Protoss by any means, but they will keep stalkers out of your base for a while.
Yeah. They're important on this map too because you have such a wide area for the Protoss to attack into if they are committing to some sort of two-base pressure, which you really want to. I mean, it's not great in any on any map for the Terran to take a free third, especially after this observer does see the fact that GoOdy, hey, he has a third base up and it's already morphed into an orbital.
Nice positioning on this tank. Like you said, that big wide engagement. The tank covers most of it.
Yeah, and this missile turret is so freaking key. Not only does the bunker placement in the tank, he can't run a stalker up here in order to blink additional stalkers up.
Oh wow, that observer is gonna get sniped, Panda.
Yeah, well.
Oh, moving it away,
just the
Fake.
last second.
Still goes down.
Doesn't even matter.
So I mean, here's the thing for GoOdy's vision, though. He's got the Hellion at third base. He's gonna feel both good and bad about this third base not being up yet. The good side is, the economy is gonna be really significantly worse than his. The bad side meaning the Protoss is going for something crazy, and we got two Stargates.
He's going for something crazy. This is gonna be quite effective. We see him already actually committing to air, not only off of 2 Stargates, he's also getting upgrades in the Cybernetics core, and going immortals with it at that.
This is going to be big Sky Toss, but Panda, hold the phone. Look at this medevac full of 4 Hellions. Now, everything is actually positioned very nicely.
And these are actually normal Hellions as well, too.
Yeah, the cargo upgrade I know is in effect for this game, so you can't really put 2 battle Hellions, or more than 2 battle Hellions, but the Nexus, I mean, between the stock replacement, the overcharge, and that cannon, GoOdy is not going to be able to drop in that base.
Yeah, definitely. And this is really key, too, for Rain. He needs to keep the knowledge of these 2 Stargates completely out of GoOdy's field of vision.
No, man, Void Rays coming out. Void Rays are such dirty units in Heart of the Swarm, Panda. I can't even... I mean, they do so much versus armored.
This can completely change a lot of matchups. Late game ZVP, even mid game. Now Void Rays are certainly viable in PvP. They're now superior to Colossus tech, so it's not really like Colossus versus Colossus wars anymore. It's kind of determined by who has more Void Rays.
I like this too because the composition for this is quite nice. The only thing that's really going to deal with these Void Rays, the Immortals are probably going to shoot down pretty quickly. I'm of course referring to like if there's Thors out. As GoOdy, having given away the fact that Mech is on the field, he's not going to have Marines or anything to deal with that.
He does have knowledge. He just did drop a scan, saw the Void Rays, saw the Stargates, and that's why he's getting high-tech auto-tracking.
I'm getting some bad FPS here, are you?
Nope.
Oh, there we go, cleared up. Sorry about that, guys. Don't know what's causing... No, it's happening again. Hang on, I'm going to pause this for a sec. Alright, guys. Sorry about that. I don't know what happened with the FPS drop there, but here we are resumed once again. This is the same game. Never left. The pause was, I guess, all I really needed to clean this up. So, getting back into this, action resumed. We do have a lot of turrets coming down, and this is because GoOdy doesn't have any anti-air right now.
He's committing to 2 Viking production, or 2 Vikings in production at a time. He hasn't quite switched over to Widow Mines. This is something that GoOdy kind of scoffing at every single other person, every single other Terran right now, regardless of whether they go Bio or Mech in this matchup. He doesn't tend to prefer a lot of Widow Mines. At least not in the couple games from this replay pack that I've seen of his. That could change soon. Widowmine Thor is actually quite good for mid-game timings against Protoss, especially once they take their third base. And GoOdy does have knowledge of this, right? No, actually.
Yeah, he actually did scan the Stargate, so he knows that there's a lot of air. I just don't know if he understands that there's a lot of Void Rays or not. Because, I mean, this many Void Rays is going to be difficult to deal with. Now, Thors, of course, will be nice. They got that spread damage. And, of course, sometimes if you want, you can make them do the focus fire. But Void Rays are going to shred those Thors so fast, Panda, I really don't know. GoOdy's just going to have a lot of Thors if he wants to deal with this effectively, combined with these Vikings.
Yeah. Void Rays do definitely have a habit of clumping up. GoOdy is taking a 4th right now, completely unabated. Although Rain is too. I have to say that I like his positioning on the 3rd base so ridiculously much for Hellion run-bys. He has a cannon there, he has a couple pylons blocking it, the Stalkers are in position, a couple Zealots and a Mortal.
Hellion's going for some run-bys, finding themselves unable to get really anything here yet.
Unfortunately, right before drone transfer.
Yeah.
We should see GoOdy continue to be active on the map, though. Daybreak is definitely one of those maps where you can, as long as you can find yourself a way to weasel in, you can do a lot of damage. Because it's just such a big map, there's so many different areas that you can attack into, access points from each base. And it's interesting, like, GoOdy is not actually committing to ground attack at all with these double armories. Another observer picked off. Man, GoOdy's turrets.
I missed that one, sorry, I was looking for that, but, I mean, okay, so let's consider what's going to happen here. We got this death ball of phoenixes that's actually hiding from the scan. The scan did not reveal a single one of these. I mean, this is, I don't know, GoOdy has to kind of do a bit of guesswork right now. Like, he knows there's double Stargate, but he sees nothing. So it's kind of like, what could possibly be out of this?
Oh. And here comes the Tempest production. Now, this is something that's going to change the course of the game. Thors are great against Void Rays to a certain extent, but once your opponent has Tempests too, it's really difficult, A, for Vikings to engage them, and B, for Thors to actually get in position. They have, I think it's 10 range on their anti-air attack, but you actually have to get from point A to point B without losing your anti-air composition for that to actually be effective.
Man, GoOdy is scanning everywhere, Panda. I'm sorry, I have to point this out. He has still not found those Void Rays. Like, this is... It is incredibly ridiculous. I think that was like 3 scans just now. No luck. And of course, now the problem is with the Tempest, as you're saying, like, the range on them is one thing. It's the fact that they're like the air siege tanks makes them very difficult to engage. And I don't know, I mean, there's a lot of Vikings. There's a lot of Thors. Actually, they have flexed themselves into anti-air single target mode. So
and we actually have, let's see, Fleet Beacon's are already down, so we have a second Cybernetics core on the way for double upgrades on the air.
3 Tempests at a time. This is ridiculous. Now, okay, here's the cool thing about this, guys. For those who don't know, Thors.
Scan, so he did get everything with that. The exact air composition and the addition of the 3rd Stargate.
Here's the good thing about the Thors that I want to point out before this engage happens. They lose the ability to do area of effect damage, but they gain 26 per attack.
Yep.
So, I mean, it's a lot more concentrated, and if you're going to try and chase down something like a Tempest, this is much better than small attacks. But with the air clumped like this, I don't know that I like that he's doing single target.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting considering how much Void Ray.
Big engagement now. We see that Tempest sniping from very far away. The Vikings are trying to do what they can. Sorry, I lost my thought there for a second. But the Phoenixes, or not, sorry, the Void Rays, look at this. They are shredding these Thors alive, and they can't even retreat due to the time bubbles.
And the Immortals, too. They're wrecking through every single one of the tanks. And the Mothership Core, even though it was a suicide run, that Time Warp did so much damage.
And these Tempests are just going to chase everything down. They've got that massive range that is pretty much larger than the screen itself.
Yeah.
But a lot of the Vikings survived, which I think is actually really key to that. Losing the Thors absolutely sucked, but keeping those Vikings alive means he can re-engage these Tempests at a later date.
Yeah. Considering how ridiculously heavy his opponent is going into air, I really think against a lot of other compositions, like especially if his opponent had just Storm at his disposal, that would almost be game right there, especially considering the fact that he doesn't have a planetary fortress at his 4th base. Or I guess he took it 3rd, but generally you see this taken 4th.
I was just thinking, yeah, if Creator Prime had like a couple Storms in this army, these Vikings would be in a ton of trouble. But the fact that he doesn't even have that tech available to him, only just now getting the Templar Archives, this should actually be okay. Because the thing is, while the Tempests have the massive range, they're still slow units. The Vikings, you know, there's a lot of them. Sure, the Tempest might wreck them, but they're going to get in there. And it's kind of like, if I had to equate this to anything, it's like Zerglings versus Roaches, right? Except in the air and flying. So, wings on all these units.
It's actually, we see GoOdy starting to incorporate ghosts. Now, this is eventually going to try and go towards a switch to, or anticipation of a switch towards Templar, but it'll be really, really solid. at taking out the Immortals, which did so much damage to his units, his ground forces, that last engagement. I mean, we saw the ground forces immediately topple.
With only one observer on the field and a lot of Vikings, if he picks off that observer, 3 cloak ghosts, 4 cloak ghosts are going to do unquestionable amounts of damage.
Yeah. I haven't seen GoOdy use nuke harassment all that much. Even in things like TvP.
I didn't recognize the level 3 error icon, armor upgrade, because it's so rarely ever researched.
It looks pretty cool.
Yeah, I was like, what new upgrade is that?
I think it's one of the coolest looking upgrades in the game.
But okay, we're going to have Creator Prime here on 3-3 momentarily, and GoOdy, I mean, I don't know, he's a little behind on the air upgrades, but he's got so many. Oh my goodness, these Hellbats are just getting ravaged. This is looking really scary. This Sky Toss, but here we go, tons of Vikings.
Yeah, he's not engaging on the missile turrets, only one.
Oh, but Archon's coming in, he's got to be careful.
The EMPs go down on everything that he needed to hit.
Okay, now it's just mostly the Tempest, and there's definitely enough Vikings here to clean this up.
Yeah.
The Archons are down as well.
Supply lead there in that last engagement.
And the Thors still remain. This is actually
going to be important against the Stalkers too, because they will begin to focus down the Vikings.
I don't know, the Thors are going to chase them off here, but the last of the Tempests are starting to go down. Oh, he's going to try and chase us off. This is actually a really good... This was the best fight for GoOdy. He really needed that victory to get back into this. The resources lost right now, almost dead even, but the Thors, man. It's kind of funny. This is almost... If I had to equate... Like, it's... Okay, you consider Mech versus Zerg and Wings of Liberty. It's hard to break, but once you break it, it's going to crumble very easily. That's kind of like Sky Toss right now, because he just took down a big army, and now there's not a lot to follow this up.
Yeah, it's something... He doesn't have additional production as far as Stargates go. He's still on only 3 gateways. I mean, still on only 3 Stargates. He has put down an additional 5, I believe. Let's take a look at...
Yeah, tons of gateways. Where's the building tab?
Yeah, I know, right? Is it T?
T, yes.
Structure, yeah.
So we got 10 warp gates on the field. I mean, this will be nice for the ground army, but I mean, there's so many Thors out, and with you can't feedback them anymore. These Templar, I mean, they got to be Archons. Is all they can do, and Archons get squished by Thors.
This is interesting too to note. The plus massive damage on the Tempests only affects air units. So generally, when you saw players like GoOdy earlier on in Wings of Liberty, Mech versus Protoss, BCs was kind of like the ultimate transition. Now Thor Viking is go-to, the most cost-effective just composition against this High Templar plus Mass Tempest army that we're seeing out of Protoss to deal with Mech. Just because Mech is so much more cost-effective against Protoss due to Widow Mines in the early to mid-game.
Which, of course, we don't see GoOdy using.
Yeah.
he's making the Thors work, which is really cool, because, I mean, it's been a long time coming where people want a Mech answer to Protoss, and GoOdy is giving the people one right now.
Yeah. He's pulling some SCVs with this in engagement. He does still have a little bit of a supply lead, but it's not going to count all toward too much.
Oh man, another big engage coming down.
Engaging with the Vikings first up. Do get a couple Archon
nice
hits on him.
EMPs though.
So much damage.
I mean, yeah, the Archons are just gone. They're not even here for this fight. Vikings are going to try and do what they can. There's not too many Tempests here, though. I mean, they're really not that big of a threat to these Thors.
Yeah.
They only do 39 damage regular versus Thors with all the SCVs helping repair. We don't even see them really going down that quickly.
The last Immortal died, too. I like this addition of a couple charge slots. The Stalkers may have been dedicated towards a couple more Zealots as well. Because GoOdy doesn't really have that Viking count, you don't want to make Stalkers against Thors. Like, there's no situation where it's a good decision to make Stalkers against Thors.
No, and as we see here...
Although this is nice. I like this harassment by Rain.
Yeah, I've seen it a bit, but I mean, the thing is, Creator Prime, he needs the robo production, I feel, to be able to deal with this army.
I mean, felt like he just needed to harass more. I mean, look at... GoOdy does not have a single planetary fortress on this entire map.
Yeah, these are all orbitals. Bases. I mean, like, even a Warpin in the main, I mean, everyone knows the best and quickest way to gut a Terran is killer production. You know, a Warpin of 4 Zealots even only take out the tech labs, while GoOdy's armies elsewhere.
I mean, he's really dedicating himself to passivity through teching to that Stargate up ridiculously early. It's a little bit of an investment, and because of that, you give way toward early gateway upgrades, like gateway production. He was on 3 gates for the first 15-20 minutes of the game. I mean, it's only minute 27 right now, but
I mean, I think if anything, that speaks for just how ridiculous that is. You have to have those gates up earlier.
Yeah. And
More
it's like
Archons.
it's really hard to budget that into your, well, I need to get bases up to support this. I need a ridiculous amount of gas, and Stargates themselves are 150, 150.
Oh man,
And
I don't
producing
feel.
these really high cost units.
And the Archons are just not a good answer to this. I mean, the Thors ripped through them so quickly. Another big
And the
gauge.
EMPs. GoOdy has 6 ghosts.
Yeah, look at those EMPs blanketing the entire Protoss army. I mean, these Thors, this is ridiculous. There's no way to break this.
Ironically, the only units that they missed there were the Archons, but he did get the Immortals, which is really effective as well.
I feel there's
And now
just
they'll
no way
just
for a
carry
creator.
Tempests.
I just don't see a creator coming back from this. GoOdy's Thor army is too massive at this point. He's got about five factories reproducing behind this. I mean, oh my goodness, look how fast his base is going down.
His production this game is interesting. He hasn't lost all that much in any engagement. He's still only on 6 factories, and one of those is without an add-on.
Does he know if his base is up? Yeah, he did actually scout that, so he's gonna take this out too. I mean, like,
Why not?
this is
He's free range at this point.
Yeah.
Get it?
I see what you did there.
Yeah, I see what you did there.
You created a pun.
Oh, snap. Oh, finally we have some zealots being worked
Yeah,
in here.
this is the sort of harass that needed to be happening 10 minutes ago. I mean,
Yeah.
right now it's a little late. Even if he picks off every SCV here, you gotta keep in mind, with 5 orbitals, I don't think GoOdy cares if he loses these SCVs. In fact, he's probably doing him a favor by picking them off, because it makes room for more Thors.
Yeah. I have to say this is an interesting, like, there are ways that people play mech, and like the way that Koreans play mech is completely different than the way that GoOdy plays mech. Like, Koreans would have so many orbitals at this point. They have defensive planetary fortresses up. GoOdy is just confident in his ability to move across the map at any point in time. Meanwhile, the Thors are just completely.
They're trying to mine they think they're SCVs or something. I don't know.
It's like a bull in a china shop. That was pretty funny.
Yeah, that's a perfect analogy for what we were just looking at.
They kind of look like bulls too. They just, oh man, they look so badass.
How many Thors is this? This is 16 freaking Thors, man. This is out of hand, is what this is.
I do have to say that the ghosts are completely necessary for this composition to actually be as effective as GoOdy is.
Yeah, I mean, the Immortals would be a huge threat to these Thors if there weren't those EMPs. Taking away that hardened shield, there we go, again, blanketing the Protoss army. Vikings even landing at this point to help, because why the heck not? And I think this might just be the end. Yep, there it is, GG.
Thors, man, pretty good.